I think a lot of people, and I'll even say it's downright laziness. They go, well, I watch CNN and that's all I watch. Well, if you're watching just CNN.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the I Didn't Read Your Book podcast. Today, Blaine Pardoe, Blue Dawn. They are fully aware that they are being hypocritical and they are using tactics that they wouldn't accept from the other side. And I think that is purposeful, just because they're the right side and the other, well, not the, they're the correct side and the other side is the not correct side. We don't have to engage with these ideas because they're so bad and they're so harmful that we just need to stamp them out. And so what would you say to somebody who maybe isn't one of these activists who is purposely doing this, but somebody who is a normal person who pays attention, but they've got a job, and they've got kids, and they've got a life, so they don't have the time to really dig into these things. So they rely on the same mainstream media avenues that they have their whole lives. And they are, by default, caught up in that mainstream liberal progressive narrative because of the way it's presented. And then they see the other side of it from somebody like you who has been paying attention and looking into these things, and they see what would be on the back of Blue Dawn and think that maybe it's conspiratorial and you're the one who's a kook, all that stuff. That how do you get through to those people?
I do watch MSNBC and CNN. Election night here in Virginia, I watched there. Now, I will tell you, I watched a little bit to see the angst of their defeat. But I do flip on CNN and MSNBC because I don't want to be the guy that's the cranky old guy who sits around watching Fox News or Newsmax. I vary my diet. Both sides are a little bit extreme in what they report. If I hear both sides of the story, I feel like I can then form my own opinion as to which way to go. I think a lot of people, and I'll even say it's downright laziness, they go, well, I watch CNN and that's all I watch. Well, if you're watching just CNN or if you're just watching MSNBC or wherever your media source is, even if it's Fox, you're not getting the whole story. What you're getting is the portion that they believe supports their narrative. And I think everybody has an obligation to try to watch the other side to go, what is the other side's view of this? Because at least if you get the other side's view, you go, okay, I understand where they're coming from.
Right.
I don't have to agree with it. I can at least say, well, this is what they're saying about it. And to me, that's the only way you can do it without dedicating a lot of your life to surfing the internet, trying to find valid sources, which they just don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
we've created a culture where there's no source of the truth. When I was raised in the 60s and 70s, we had 3 TV networks. We had 3 TV anchors in the evening that we knew of. Very rarely did they impose their politic on the facts. They reported facts. This is what the president did today. This is what he signed today. They didn't have commentators going, well, here's what that really means. And this is, they're lying about the cost of this, or they don't really address this, this, and this. We've gotten commentators. We have entertainment people who are providing us the news.
Right. And even worse in this day and age, specifically with Biden, they will fill in the quotes of Biden stumbling and over his words and put in what they think he meant. And that goes out as an official news story. And so when he's saying, the thing, and we 3 million people and CNN or whoever it is, all of them, they will do the ellipses with the breaking up the quote, and they'll put it together in a way that makes sense, which could be seen as legitimately trying to help people understand what the president meant. But it always goes in the direction of what helps the narrative. We're in 2 different realities. There's the people that understand that this is going on, and then there's people who are just willing to eat it up. And if it's in the news, then it must be true. And I mean, it's not even just the mainstream cable news channels or anything like that. I'll commonly listen to Tim Pool. He does a really good job. I don't think he tries to be unbiased. I think he just tries to put his bias up front instead of trying to act like he doesn't have one. And so that allows me to see, okay, this is what Tim thinks about the facts that he's laid out. And then I can do that as well. But even, it's not just left wing. It's not just progressive stuff. I mean, I like to watch Crowder too, and Steven Crowder, and it's entertaining and it can be informative. And there's some things that he does that are real works of journalism, like when he went to some of the addresses on some of the
I
ballots.
love that. I saw
That was-
that episode and that sucked me in because I was, here's where so-and-so lived who voted in Arizona, and it's a vacant lot.
Yeah. Coming from the left, and on that stream I just did a couple of days ago, was the first time I unintentionally referred to myself as a conservative. And I was like, well, I guess I'm conservative now. Republican and conservative, those were dirty words to people my age. And it was just the default that you would be on the cool liberal side. And I feel like things have been that way since maybe and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, since around the 60s, that the liberal side was the cool side and the Republicans were the old fuddy-duddies. One of the big points that has led me away from the liberal mindset and closer to the conservative mindset is understanding that more than ever before, there seems to be a bigger disparity from left-wing voters and left-wing politicians and right-wing voters and right-wing politicians than the right and left-wing politicians or the right and left-wing voters. That really has changed the landscape. And so I don't think being conservative really even means what it did a few years ago. And I don't think I am I don't think I am a 2015 conservative. But now, if you're not a hardcore liberal, you're just a conservative. And I'm done fighting that. I'm okay with that, because I don't want to be taking a side I don't believe in because of a semantic discomfort aligning myself with the GOP. And I don't align myself with the GOP. And that, I guess that's my whole point, is that I have more conservative values than I used to. I have more conservative values than the typical liberal. But just like many liberals don't like Biden or Harris or AOC or whoever it is, I'm not really a champion of the GOP.
It feels like a target at times when you tell people I'm conservative, and
Well, that's
I don't
exactly why I
hedge
didn't
about
want to
it.
do it. Yeah.
The GOP's wandered away from a lot of its ideals just as much as the left wavers from them. There is a schism between where the voters are and where the parties are. And it's pretty big. And I think you saw that with Glenn Youngkin here in Virginia. And if you had told me 2 years ago that education was going to be a hot button topic that would determine the governor's race, not just the governor's race, the conservatives took the House of Delegates too. There should have been a realization that took place the next morning with the liberals where they were going, okay, we need to kind of check ourselves on some of the stuff we've been pushing. They doubled down. The one MSNBC commentator who said that our assistant governor was a white supremacist was just ridiculous. I was like, do you not own a television?
And again, that's why it's like, are you really saying these things because you believe them, or are you saying these things for the effect that they're going to have?
They are seriously believing that they get to control which narrative gets spoken. They control the language as it is right now. So if you don't like something, they change the name of what that is. So they want to parse it even more and keep the divisions going even more. It's frustrating. I think people got fed up with it. AOC was all upset about, don't go after wokeism. We're not woke enough. As Napoleon said, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. And I'm a big proponent of that. If you want to go down that path, go down that path. I think it's not going to help you